Okay, awesome. Well, hello, I'm Lindsay from Maple Wood Shop here with woodworkers Anika and Alma, talking about making career and technical education more gender inclusive. And I'd love to start by learning a little bit more about you two. Anika, could you start by telling us a bit about your background, why you founded Anika's DIY Life and your mission?
Sure. Hey, everybody. So I am Anika, and I actually grew up in India. And growing up in India, we had a lot of, as a girl, I had a lot of access to crafts. I did all the crafts. I did painting, I did macrame, I did embroidery, paper crafts, but we did not have any exposure to anything DIY or power tools. It's not really a thing in India. It's becoming more so now, but at that time, you even call somebody to change a light bulb or hang up a picture on the wall. So it wasn't something that I was exposed at all to as I was growing up. And being able to actually use power tools and actually build furniture was something that was completely unheard of. And so when I came to the US, for grad school, and I actually, I'm a physicist and electrical engineer. So growing up as well in college, I was one of 4 girls in my entire class of 50 something students. So I have always been in sort of the field where there's barely any girls or women. And I came to the US, I got married, I got a job, an electrical engineering job. And even then in there, I was one of 2 women in my entire department. And so I've always been in sort of that kind of niche where people, like I was in the minority. But I think one of the things that really taught me was that I am as good, if not better, than everyone else around me. So it doesn't matter that I am a woman or a girl. But when my daughter was born, I was just looking for some fun furniture because everything I saw was bland, like primary colors, plastic, or just white. And I wanted something fun and colorful. And I went down the path of IKEA hacks, and then I realized that I discovered a few other female woodworkers that were just starting out at that time, Anna White and Jen Woodhouse, and they were just starting out at that time as well. And I discovered them, and I saw what they were doing, and I was like, you know what? I can make that as well. Like, I can do this. So that's when I first bought my power tools, and that's how I built my first little table, and that's how I got hooked onto woodworking. And really a couple of years later, like I kept doing woodworking on the side as a hobby on the weekends. But then a few years later, I took a break from my job when I had my second kid, and I decided that, you know what, I have fun doing this. And I think I want to put this online and try to, inspire other people. And as I started putting it online, I realized that it was something that was really, really needed. Like, it was something like I was able to show people that if I can do it, like I had not picked up a power drill until like a year ago. And if I can do this, so can you. So that's sort of my mission with my entire website and everything. Is now it's been about 9 years since I've been building stuff, but honestly, if I could have picked up everything and I can start doing things, anyone can. And that's all it is about, motivating and empowering beginners. No matter whether it's a girl or woman or a man, like any gender, but it's just like you can do it.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. How about you, Alma? Will you tell us a little bit about your background and also your work with PinkSoul Studios? Let's see, I think you might be on mute. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Can you hear me good?
Gotcha.
Okay. So my name is Alma Villalobos. I started PinkSoul Studios probably, I mean, it's been years. I've always kind of played around with that, having my own sort of workshop studio. But really around the time when my son was born is when I got a little bit more serious about woodworking. And really it came down to just me wanting to build things for him and for our house and, toys for him and things, his bed. And like, I wanted to be that mom too. And seeing someone as like Anna White, having Anna White was really the only person that I had seen out there that had like was making things. So she was a huge inspiration for me to, really get going and knowing that I can do it. And then I went into the deep hole of watching YouTube and finding people like Jimmy DiResta and Bob and from Make, what is it? I like to make stuff. Yeah, so I think just finding that back then, there weren't very many people doing, woodworking and things like that. So yeah, it's been probably about 8 years that I've really gotten serious about woodworking, and really in the last couple years that I've gotten serious about the business side of PinkSoul Studios and just really trying to make product and getting myself out there on Etsy and my website. Building, actually building a website. Before it was more hobby and just wanting to learn all, everything about woodworking. And the last couple of years, again, building product for Etsy has been, a bit of a challenge, but I have a couple of products out there that do okay. It's mostly in the like signs and things like that. Yeah, I mean, I love making things. I like teaching people to make things. And I really just want to be able to sort of, I guess, be a sort of representation of that women can do this, women of color can do this. It's just something that you don't see very much. Anika was probably, one of the first ones that I think we met on IG probably, it's probably been 5 or 6 years now that, and she was also an inspiration then. I was like, oh my God, she's doing all these plans and been looking to her too. And she's so open with, what she does and how she does it. It's a really great community too.
Take myself on mute though. Well, it's a great honor to have you both here with us today. Thanks for sharing your stories and especially to be a part of this conversation. And I have a couple of questions for us. I mean, you both have already touched on some of these things in your story, but first I'd like to ask you, what are the gender demographics that you have seen in CTE and the trades?
So, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that the CTE and the trades, it's not equal or balanced, right? Like we see that in everyday, in our everyday life. When you go to hire somebody, when you're driving around, right, and you see a construction site or a house being remodeled or anything, right? It's not. So I think the obvious is it's not very equal. And I mean, I don't know numbers or anything like that. I just know that there are women interested in it because I've gone previously to classes at Woodcraft to learn how to like use basic tools. Like I've taught a class at it wasn't Woodcraft, it was Rockler on basic tools, and we had 20 women show up, that had never done it. I taught a class in Michigan last year. Again, it was a woodworking weekend at this bed and breakfast, and we did a whole day of teaching basic tools. And again, it was a big crowd of women that were just like, I've just never used these. So I think it's obvious that it's not equal, but it's also obvious that I feel like women want to do it and learn as well.
I think it's definitely becoming a lot more accessible to them, as well as they're becoming more involved in it. Like we can see that very clearly with, you know, what the Instagram accounts that you see in the last few years. It's definitely increasing, if not exponentially, but at a really fast rate, which is really great.
Yeah, so we're seeing it's not equal. There's a big interest, and it is changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what does gender inclusivity in woodworking mean to you, and where and when is the best place to start?
Well, the best place to start is to just get started, right? Like pick up a tool, pick a simple project, start from there, and you just kind of build with that. Like when I started, I just had a drill, and I started from that. Then I built up another power tool, and I added another power tool, and I learned as I went. And that's probably the simplest way to start. Like you don't have to have all the fancy tools and know how to do all the things to get started. You can just take one little project, build a little thing, and then go from there. And I mean, in terms of what gender inclusivity means to me is having somebody appreciate what you made, not because you're a girl, like, oh, you're a girl and you made this. It shouldn't be that it's good because I'm a girl and I made it. It should be good because I made it. You know what I mean? I think that's where it comes down to, like, when you actually stop looking at it from the lens of, oh, was this made by a girl? Then probably it's great. But if it was not made by a girl, oh, okay, you know, you see what I mean? That's kind of what I think gender inclusivity means, when you don't have that thing in the back of your head of it's a girl or a boy.
I hear you. Yeah, appreciating the craft for what it is.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Do you want to add to that, Alma?
Can you repeat the question?
What does gender inclusivity in woodworking mean and look like to you?
I mean, I would say the same thing as Anika said, like when it doesn't matter, like who made it, when people, you know, aren't, when there isn't that title of female woodworker, or you never hear male woodworker, like you never hear woodworking guy, right? Or woodworking man. Like it's always female woodworker, woodworking woman. And so if we really wanted to have that inclusivity, like we wouldn't say that, we just say woodworker. But I also think when, you know, there is a part of that on women as well, when we don't use our womanness to be the thing that displays or, you know, shows what we've done, right? When we ourselves aren't using that as well, because again, we don't see men that are like, here's this thing I made, you know. It's just here's the thing I made, right? Yeah, I think when we could just say that we're either woodworkers or we're makers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, there's some construction behind me. Pursuing careers in woodworking and other trades often comes down to opportunities and exposure, you know, as young people. And, you know, already you've talked a little bit about in your experience that you've seen it isn't equal. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that, and maybe even just kind of in the different stages of life and maybe different locations as well? As I know, Anika, you mentioned, you know, coming from one country to another.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I mean, as culturally, it's definitely, you know, in my, like the Indians, it's not something that's done. So I love that I'm able to influence my kids and their friends and show them that, you know, I am able to do this. But in terms of opportunities, it definitely would make a huge difference if they actually started at elementary school level, right? They actually get that chance to play with just pieces of wood and, you know, kind of put simple things together. And there are some of the stores, like they have these workshops, but if we actually did that at the school level as part of their art classes or whatever, right? I mean, that would make a huge difference for them to see that it is possible for them to do things, right? I had my son, he's 8, and he and his friend were here, and my son loves to help me, and and they wanted to build something, and I was like, okay, here you go, here's my scrapwood pile, and just do whatever. And they came up with a bed, and they came up with like a little chair, and it's amazing to see the things that they can do, and then they think of the possibilities, like how do we attach this and how do we put it together. And if we are able to introduce that at elementary school level, that would be so awesome. I know middle school has a lot of has wood shop in some places, but just starting at a really young age and showing them that it is possible for you to do this, it's definitely something.
Yeah, I would agree again with Anika. I think it starts, at a really young age. I feel like when I was younger, it was almost frowned upon, that I wanted to be in the wood shop. Girls went to home ec and boys went to wood shop, and there was a line, like it was, this is what you did. And when girls wanted to be in wood shop, it was, why are you here? And why aren't you in home ec? And are you sure you want to do this? Like, there was a lot of, are you sure this is what you want to do? I was sure. And so, I got, in school, I did it, but I was also forced to not be there, right? Like, so I think it starts at an age that starts at home, and we have to make those changes, right? As adults now, we know that it's okay for girls to do woodworking, right? Like, we need to start at home with teaching, and also teaching boys at a young age that it's okay for girls to be in this class as well. Like, I have a son, and I already hear it with, he's 8, and I already hear it in his voice, or not in his voice, but like things that he says, right? Like, that's a girl's doll, and we never taught him that. And so I think it starts then, like making sure that it's okay for, again, like you say, girls can play with tools and boys can play with dolls, right? Like, it goes that way too. But yeah, it definitely starts young, and we have to, as adults, we have to make sure that we are the ones that are that voice for these kids, especially in schools.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, really focusing on that early exposure, and also kind of changing the expectations that we see that really fall along those gender lines, and what we expect from a girl to be interested in doing, and what we expect from a boy to be interested in doing. Excellent. Well, I have one last question for you both. What's the significance to you of starting your own wood shop, and kind of the influence that you see yourself having on others to pursue this kind of career?
Do you want to go ahead, Anika, or you want
to? Sure. I think, my entire mission itself is to kind of, encourage and empower everyone to start doing this. And being able to do that is, I can see the influence, like on the emails that I get, and the people sharing the fact that they are in their 60s and they've never had exposure to wood shop. And, I've had those emails from women who are like, when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to take wood shop, and now I'm able to do this because of, you are sharing all this information. And I think that, and then I also get emails from parents of girls who are like, I picked up this project from you because I think my daughter can do this, and I'm going to have so much fun doing it with her. And I think overall, I definitely see the influence that the entire, like the website and the information that I put out there and the projects that I put out there is having on people. So I'm really grateful and really humbled by that, but it's really what makes me do this again and again as well.
I think, can you repeat the question again? I want to make sure I'm not straying too much. Oh, you're muted.
What's the significance to you of starting your own wood shop and the influence you see yourself having on others to pursue a career in the trades as well?
You know, for me originally, it was very selfish, right? Like it was just for me. It's very empowering. I started an Instagram account because I wanted to just show my friends, you know, what I was making and what I was able to build. So it was empowering to me that it feels so amazing to be able to make something that you can use, right? Like I saw a crate and barrel bed and saw that it was $2,000, but Anna White made plans for it and I could make the whole thing myself for less than $5. And so that, to me, that was probably one of my first big projects. I think it's been 8 or 9, maybe even 10 years ago. And that was just mind blowing to me, right? That I could go online and get these plans and build this thing and save that much money. So it was really selfish in the beginning when I started. And then I wanted to show it off again, being really selfish, right? Like, look what I can do. And then you start to build a community. I went on Instagram and you start to build this community and realize that there are other people like me. And I met, you know, people like Anika and Tamar and Ash, like all these names now that are really big. And I still really look up to all of these women. But you see that they're all, and so we start this network, right? And we start a community and we start talking and we watch each other grow and we help each other as much as we can with, you know, advice with tools and, you know, advice on joinery now. Like we've all grown and we're going into these different steps of like, look at us, look what we've built as a community, right? We go to a Workbench conference every year and meet up and talk trade secrets. And now it's not so much about what was built as a product or as an actual, you know, piece of furniture or whatever. It's look what we've built as a business, right? Look what I've built. Anika and I talked just a few weeks ago on, you know, the social, like social media side of things and like selling like plans and things like what her approach to that was, and what mine is, right? So I think, you know, it started as something for me, and then I realized a few years in, like, this is bigger than me, because the same, like Anika, I'm getting emails as well saying, wow, or DMs in Instagram saying, you know, wow, it's so cool to see somebody that's, you know, Latina or that's out, and it's okay. Like you're actually building people. People aren't unfollowing you when you share something personal about your life, about being a female, about being gay. Like people are actually still with you, right? You still get big sponsorships. That to me is what changed it. And that probably happened maybe like 5 years ago when I got my first sort of DMs and letters. Like people wrote me letters to send me stickers, and they wrote letters telling me like, in your shop, I saw a sign that said y'all means all, and I can't tell you what that meant to me, right? And that for me changed my life as far as what I'm doing. That's where it made it really important for me to be out there in front of the camera at times to show like, this is the person that made this. And I know we want to get away from like it being a female, but I also think we're still in that age where they need to see us, because again, like we know representation matters, right? So we still need that so that other females and again, other men see that it's okay. Like we're not going anywhere, and you know, we're not trying to take over. Just we want to do this too. So yeah, I think now it's more of a community thing, and what I've tried to focus on.
Wow, it's so amazing to hear yeah, how your experience really evolved and the community that's out there, accepting and supportive network that's available. So we have some questions here. Let's see in the chat. Okay, Connor's asking, anything co-ed is a great social opportunity. What is the significance of boys and girls collaborating with something like woodworking?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Alma.
I mean, I think it's significant for us to coexist, right, and know that it's okay. I think that's just the bottom line, is that it's okay that we're doing this together. Yeah. Like, it's probably a good thing to show. I've done co-ed projects with Festool and Rubio and Rubio Monaco, and again, like it shouldn't be about gender. Unfortunately, a lot of times it is. You know, they'll pin girls against boys, and we know historically that men have always had kind of the advantage when it comes to this type of work. So I think women can learn some things from them, but there are a lot of women out there that are years ahead of men with with woodworking skills.
Yeah,
so
I think we, like, both as like boys and girls, like they bring different perspectives of things to a collaboration, right? And I think it's very important to kind of show them to respect each other and to give the space to collaborate and do projects together.
Yeah, absolutely. We always talk about in woodworking education how it's this collaborative environment and they're working to solve problems together, and that these, in addition to the woodworking skills, these are life skills that grow with them and carry into all areas of life. Okay, let's see. Both of you speak on multiple parts of your identity when it comes to your careers. What are the unique ways your intersectional experience impacts or inspires your work?
Well, I think one of the ways that it brings me the best way to put it is, having been at the point where I learned everything from scratch, like I had zero experience, that gives me the perspective of being able to see things from a beginner's perspective and teach accordingly. And that sort of inspires my projects and all the things that I do as well. Like, I try to keep them as simple as possible so anyone can do them, and but at the same time adding a few elements of a few advanced techniques here and there so you can grow with it. And I think overall that's sort of where I try to keep my work is at the level where beginners can do it. So I think that's probably the best way I can put this.
Yeah, keeping it accessible.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's the word.
Great. Okay, let's see. Alma, do you want to add? Working in a male-dominated field, what has encouraged and empowered you to continue to disrupt the status quo?
Do you want to go, Alma?
Yeah. Again, I think for me, it might be selfish, like to disrupt that status quo. Like I'm not someone, when you tell me that I can't do something, especially because it's, something I can't change, right? I'm brown, I'm a woman, I'm gay, like I'm going to do it. And I'm going to try to do it better than a guy, you know? Yeah, I think it's important, again, like it is for me, it's for ego. It's not like, that's where it starts with. And then I realize like how empowering that itself can be for and to other women, to disrupt that too, to say like, to give them that courage. Like if that needs to be me, and if I need to be the one that gets, the trolls and things like that with the things that I do, then I can do that. I've been doing this long enough. And I have seen, again, women at WorkbenchCon have come up to me and said like, oh my God, you've got comments on, such and such. That was really funny, or that was like crazy that they said that about you and what you were making, or question what you were making. So I think, again, for me, it starts with that, but then knowing that I can help other women like know that it's okay, then that's what it becomes.
Yeah, absolutely. Starting with yourself, but then pushing through, pushing past, and empowering others. Okay, let's see. Okay, Lori, what is your most successful way to attract or reach out to the women who come to your programs? So I guess this is largely about connecting, what ways do you connect with your community?
I think it's just a lot of giving, right? Sharing experiences, sharing techniques, sharing things you learn, and just keep sharing that. I think that's really a huge part of it, and being real, I think that makes a huge difference, especially on platforms like Instagram or on YouTube. And, it's the way you present yourself. I think that makes a difference. Like, instead of being like a highly curated and highly, sophisticated, and when it makes a difference when they actually see the real you, when you're in your messy pink clothes and dirty clothes, and all messy without makeup, and building out there, sweating in the driveway, cutting up sheets of plywood. I think that makes a huge difference in people being able to really connect with you. Mm-hmm. And then when they see that you are giving them a lot of value, I think that makes a huge difference in being able to connect.
Yeah, I would add just the engagement, like engaging with your followers are essentially if we're talking about Instagram, which is really the only platform that I use, your followers are your community, and thinking of your followers as your community would probably changes a lot as well. And so that's how I think of them. Like, people that follow me that's my community, and people that I follow. And so if they reach out to me in any way, whether it's in an email or DMs or in a comment, I make sure I answer every one of those, and I make sure that I do my best to engage with that community. If they know that I'm here, and you can ask me anything, right? Like, I think that's the easiest way.
Beautiful. Okay, let's see. All right, so one of our participants says, first of all, thank you so much for moving this conversation forward. Being in the architecture and construction industry, I know the pains of this issue and share a similar story. Could you share again some of the women you found inspirational in woodworking?
So first, of course, Anna White. She is the biggest inspiration there is. And then Jen Woodhouse is not named. And then Tamar is definitely one as well. I think, yeah, those are the biggest three that come to my mind.
I would agree. I think Anna White probably started it for a lot of us because she was out there so long ago doing this and making it accessible for everybody. I don't think she's ever charged for a plan or for a video or anything. And again, when we talk about engagement in your community, she's always answered an email or a DM from me. Like back when I didn't have, I was maybe 100 followers and I reached out and asked her a question. She responded, and she's got a large, following, a large community out there. So, yeah, so I would say, the same. Anyway, and Pneumatic Attic was another one that I had followed from a long time, Alicia. And then I found Anika on Instagram, and I, obviously the stuff that Anika puts out there is amazing as well. And then I think later, Tamar started to get more traction as well. And I feel like Tamar also, as far as techniques and things are, her videos are really great. And then I think if you're really just trying to get started as well, besides Anika and Anna White, someone like my friend Erin from Maker Gray, who does really great videos on beginner style videos. So yeah, there are a lot of women that I feel that I'm probably missing right now that have been doing this for years and maybe don't have the community or the following that Anika or even my following or whatever, but they've been doing it just as long and they don't get the recognition that they probably deserve. And but there are a lot of women out there, so
Yeah.
that are inspiring.
I think I'd probably also add Shara at Woodshop Diaries.
Shara, yeah, she's amazing as well.
Great. Okay, thank you for sharing these resources. And let's see, Loretta, were there some other questions that were submitted? I think that's all I have right now coming in from our participants.
Yeah, thank you, Lizzie. I think the last question that we have is, what advice would you give young women that are pursuing a career in woodworking?
I think if you're pursuing a career in woodworking, I mean, it's tough. I think for me, it always starts with Googling what's around me. So there are maker spaces that you could Google to figure out and again, it's going to start with community, who can help you get to where you want to be. If you're just starting out in woodworking, I feel again, it would be researching where those community spaces are, the maker spaces in your area. And if that doesn't exist, a lot of the woodworking stores like Rockler and Woodcraft have classes as well. And usually those are free. Sometimes they're just for a little bit of money. So I would start there. But even starting a woodworking business, it's just so broad. I feel depending on what you want to do, it would really depend on what you were looking to actually do in woodworking. Because I don't feel like it's an easy business to kind of, get out there and do. But sometimes it just starts small. Etsy is a really great space to start where you don't have to go through all of the, building an LLC or EIN or anything like that. You can sell as an artist. The same thing with Craigslist or Marketplace on Facebook. If you made something, the biggest thing I think when starting a sort of woodworking business and when you're building things for others is just making sure that a liability factor. But I believe Etsy has a lot of that built in because you're selling as an artist. But for me, Etsy was a really, really great space to start because it kind of gives you exposure, but then you're also able to see what other people are doing and pricing and how they're running their business as well. Yeah, as far as like just saying in general, woodworking, starting a woodworking business, like that's a little bit too general, but to start with your community and locally.
Great. Yeah. So starting small and reaching out to the community. Definitely some great tips. Did you want to add anything? Yeah.
No, I think she covered everything. I think also a lot of, reach out to peers who are doing what you really want to do. And everyone's like the maker community is super, super generous, and everyone is open to talking about it and helping each other. And I think that's definitely something you should also look into, like reach out and ask questions if you have questions, and build connections and build a community there as well.
Okay. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this. We have it recorded, so it'll be there for others to go back to. And I know there were a lot of folks that wanted to join us live that will catch up later. So we just really appreciate your time and your openness.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if anyone watching has any questions, they can always reach out to me.
Okay, great. Yeah, the, before we go, maybe share the best way to connect with both of you for follow-up.
For me, Instagram's good. If you want to send me an email, it's hello@anikasdiylife.com, and either way is fine.
For me, it's Instagram. It's PinkSoul Studios is my Instagram handle. Yeah, and thank you so much for inviting us to speak.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all again, and hopefully we'll get together and do this again.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.